I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakeims. All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
Still not yet. We're getting there slowly but surely. There's connection. I can see you. You're moving loud and clear. We're trying to figure out the connection on my end, as all of you Pats Daily fans know. But I'm Mike Kadlick. He's Taylor Kyles, and we're back with another episode of the Pats Daily podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, powered by PrizePicks and Gametime. We're going to talk about them a bunch later on. But we have a mailbag episode for you today. We're going to use this as our Patriots versus Jets preview. We have some videos from Gillette Stadium coming later on today that preview the matchup more in depth, but we're going to talk about a little, 30,000 foot view, surface level stuff about the Patriots matchup tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football, again with the New York Jets. But first, Taylor, we're going to talk about A, today's injury report, and B, some news that just came out literally as we were pressing play on this podcast. So I guess we'll start with that one. I think that one's the most pressing, and that would be the fact that yes, the Patriots signed D-end. Let me find his name once again, unless you have it right in front of you.
Jamry Chroma.
Okay, they signed Jamry Chroma. He's a rookie to their 53-man roster at defensive end. And they placed linebacker Oshane Ximines on injured reserve. He has been ruled out, or he was ruled out of Thursday's game with a knee injury earlier on in the day, and now they placed him on IR. Now, me and Taylor are both not as well-versed as we think we'd like to be in the roster transaction game as far as whether he is out for 4 games or the season. I'm going to wait for somebody smarter than me in that regard to kind of tweet something out to figure it out more in depth. But long story short, he is out at least the next 4 games. This may be season ending. I'm not sure about the injured reserve rules there for him. But not a good sign, I guess, to see Ximines out for 4 games. They continue to struggle in the injury department, which we'll get to the rest of the injury report later. But quickly, your thoughts on the new signing and losing Ximines?
Yeah, I don't even think – I feel like someone would say out for the season, and we haven't seen that yet. So definitely don't want to assume that or anything. But Oshane Ximines is a guy who had a good summer. The coaching staff said they were expecting starter-level production from him. Obviously was going to be pretty big in replacing Matt Judon. So it's unfortunate to see him miss time, especially because he has put so much work in. And we heard from Drew Wilkins and Oshane that really he tried to change his body to be better and really work out on the edge. So that stinks. I'm not totally familiar with Jamry Chroma. I know that he was playing pretty late in preseason games, so I don't think this is the kind of guy where you're expecting that, I know people are aching to see more of Zach Thomas and DeMontre Jacobs, and but I think these are guys they're signing with more of a developmental role.
Absolutely.
Obviously now they need more depth on the edge, and I think that's probably going to come with more snaps for Dietrich Wise, I would think, because he's been really more of a rotational piece, which we expected, but now that they have these depth concerns, I think they're going to need some more out of him. So yeah, it just stinks for Oshane, but hopefully it's not season ending and he'll be back on the field.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to today's injury report. The Patriots and the Jets both releasing their final injury report before tomorrow night's game. This is obviously, as fans and as you know, the one where they basically rule guys out, questionable or doubtful for the game, etc. And the Patriots have ruled out Jawan Bentley, Vidarian Lowe, City So, and Ximines, who we just mentioned is on IR. Bentley's injury we talked about a little bit yesterday. We weren't sure about the guys on the offensive line. But it is official that So and Lowe will not travel to New York.
Low.
Yeah, So Lowe will not travel to New York on Thursday or today. They won't play Thursday. They won't be there. So it's looking like the Patriots' left side of the offensive line is going to be rookie Caden Wallace at the left tackle spot, former practice squad, now 53-man roster acquisition, Michael Jordan at left guard. And then I'm sure the rest will continue with David Andrews, Layden Robinson, and Mike Onwenu to fill it out. Although, additionally, in this injury report, David Andrews is questionable with a hip injury, and Layden Robinson remains Robinson, I believe, was taken off. Mike Onwenu is questionable with a wrist injury. So, yeah, I think those guys are going to play, but there are injuries upon injuries continuing to pile up, not only on the team, but the offensive line specifically. So, with that being said, thoughts on the Patriots now starting their 3rd left tackle in 3 games, as well as what you expect from Caden Wallace on the left side as a rookie, likely making his first start.
Attrition, man. This
Yeah,
is just
it
what
is.
happens all over the offensive line. It feels like nobody's really got or there's a very select group of teams that have an actually healthy unit. Badarian Lowe obviously did struggle last week, but that was against a really exceptional group of pass rushers for the Seattle Seahawks. And even then, it was pressure coming from all over the place, like we detailed in our film breakdown. That really was part of that. It's one thing if one guy's losing, but really everyone on the Patriots offensive line needs to be better this week. But obviously going from Badarian Lowe, who was showing some signs of growth and was putting some positive things on tape, will now be replaced by Caden Wallace, who has looked very good as the muscle tight end. Like Scott Peter mentioned him staying square and being able to stick on blocks, and he's looked excellent as a run blocker. In pass protection, you wonder what they're seeing behind the scenes because he's mostly only repped at right tackle. I think part of that is the fact that they know they want Badarian on the left side. I don't think there's any good chance that he's really going to get moved. I think if anything, they maybe want to put Caden Wallace at right tackle, kick Mike Nwenu back inside so he's not in a tougher spot out there at tackle. But the big test is going to be, can he hold up if they have to drop back in like third and long or, some second long yardage situations? That's going to be the big test for him. Now, luckily, looking at the tape from when Jacoby Brissett played the Jets back in 2022 with the Browns, and then last year for the Browns, a lot of screens, a lot of quick game. Those guys were not holding on to the ball. And I know you tweeted about it. The Jets are getting pressure at one of the highest rates in the league. So just like last week, this isn't a front where you want to be holding the ball. Got to stay ahead of the chains, but you're going to have to protect your offensive line. You're going to have to protect your quarterback. Hopefully they're able to obviously run the ball effectively and not get backed up so Caden Wallace doesn't have to show because he, was going back 10 different dropbacks, what he can do in the pass protection game.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the pressure rate as well because that kind of ties into our next piece, and that's the Jets injury report where first and foremost, I tweeted earlier, but according to NFL statistics, the Patriots are facing a Jets defense that ranks first in pressure rate at a rate of 45.6%, and they're also tied for third in sacks. And on top of that, they blitz just 17.6% of the time, which is good for only 25th in the league, meaning that really they're getting pressure from their front. They're not sending more guys than they have. They're just doing it basically one-on-one again from up front. But one of the guys who was highly responsible for that pressure rate is edge rusher, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him, Jermaine Johnson, who looked to tear his Achilles last week. I don't know if that's confirmed yet, but he is out with an Achilles injury. They haven't yet placed him on IR, but it looks like that is the diagnosis. So I guess that helps, right? I shouldn't say I guess it helps. It obviously helps, but it helps further with the fact that Caden Wallace getting his first start, Layden Robinson continuing, although it's his third start, still a rookie, and an offensive line that is battling all this attrition. But good news on that front, at least, that Jermaine Johnson, good news for the Patriots anyway, that Jermaine Johnson's going to be out.
Yeah, this is still a Jets front that you can't mess with. I know Quinnen Williams, he's not putting a lot of stats up right now, but I'm not taking him lightly. You can do that if you want. I don't think the Patriots are going to either.
Right.
But they've got multiple guys who have 5 pressures. Like it's Michael Clemens, Will McDonald, and Javon Kinlaw. So they still got a lot of talent on that Jets defensive front. Obviously, it's going to help a lot whenever Caden Wallace, or I'm honestly not sure if Jermaine Johnson lines up on the left or right most of the time.
Right.
It's a short week. I wasn't able to do as much research as I wanted to.
I would assume, Taylor, now again, I know that different schemes do things differently. In my thought process there, I would assume that, yeah, maybe he does line up on one side. But if you're going against Caden Wallace, a rookie, get your best playmaker on their worst lineman. I know that you don't want to change scheme up like that, but you would think that they would just throw Jermaine Johnson against Caden Wallace in that situation. But again, teams do things differently. I know teams like
he switches sides. He
does. Okay, so yeah, that helps for sure.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry, no, you're good.
No, I'm good. That's basically the gist of it, is that you got to get the ball out of your hands quickly. You got to run effectively. Now, the good news is the Jets' run defense has not looked great. Really, outside zone duo, it's different concepts. They've struggled when teams get good double teams and then allow their running backs to get to the second level. And this is a defense that they swarm to the football, so it's not a huge problem, but they will miss tackles, and they run pretty fast, and they like to fly to the ball. So that's going to be a pretty big priority, is just making sure you don't become one-dimensional. There's too many veterans and too many talented players. CJ Mosley, another guy, he's questionable right now, but he could miss the game as well with the toe injury. That would obviously be huge because he's been a problem for their run game, for multiple years now.
Yep. So as we mentioned, everybody who is live listening, this is a mailbag episode. So we're going to get to all of your Patriots questions. We have a couple lined up in the queue. But if you're watching and if you have any additional questions, throw them in the chat. So we're going to get to as many as we can over the rest of the episode. As you guys ask your questions, as we get those queued up, quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks, because you guys know them. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike all the other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you got to do is pick 2, 2, 6, player stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. We've talked about it here, but that Caleb Williams passing yard or more than one passing yard, gets you one free win on PrizePicks every week throughout September. So make sure you head over there today. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. So make sure you head over there today. Like I said, download the PrizePicks app, use code CLNS, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks. To get $50 instantly, you don't even need to win to receive the bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. So that's PrizePicks. Quickly on the PrizePicks topic, me and Taylor have our picks for this week up there right now. You can see them on screen. We're going to talk you through them. We picked. Look, in the last couple weeks, I'll be transparent, Taylor. My picks haven't done great on PrizePicks, and I think it's because I try and do 3 and not just 2. So here we're going with yeah. I have gotten greedy, and they haven't hit like I would like to. So on the for our Patriots Daily picks, we're going with 2 picks, and then the gimme with the Caleb Williams passing yard, because that's obviously going to happen. So throw that in there. My pick, Taylor, is Pop Douglas to have more than 20.5 receiving yards. Look, they're gonna pepper him, I think, this week. He's upset about it. Jacoby knows it. Alex Van Pelt, Gerard Mayo, they all know they have to get the ball in their best playmakers' hands. 20.5 receiving yards is so little for this guy. I know he hasn't hit it yet, and because he's only has those 3 or 4 targets over the first couple games, but I think they find a way to do it this week. You mentioned the quick game. They're going to get the ball out as fast as they possibly can, and why not do it to your best offensive player? So that's my pick. Taylor's pick is Garrett Wilson, longest reception to be less than 23.5 yards. We talked about it last week, Taylor, with DK. Unfortunately, it didn't hit for you. Why are you going back to it this week with Garrett Wilson?
I think the Patriots are going to go back to basics a little bit against Aaron Rodgers, because this isn't the guy that you want to mess around and be in the wrong coverage structures, be out there blowing coverages, because he can still just hand it to his receivers downfield. So I think Christian Gonzalez is also a good matchup for Garrett Wilson, who's not the biggest guy. He's obviously very athletic, great at the catch point and all that, but Gonzo is also Gonzo. And he looked pretty good against Garrett Wilson last year, so I don't see him letting up any big targets today.
Love it.
Thursday, geez Louise.
I know, we're getting there. It feels like the game's tonight. It feels like we're gonna have to get there in 4 hours. By the way, these short weeks, man. I don't know how the players do it, because I don't know how I'm doing it right now either. But
I don't either. I don't know what day it is. I'm not even on cruise control. I think I'm just in constant panic mode.
Yeah, seriously. Well, that's our PrizePicks lineup, guys. Check it out. Pop Douglas, more than 20.5 receiving yards. Garrett Wilson to Garrett Wilson to have less than 23.5 receiving yards on his longest reception, and throw in Caleb Williams more than half a passing yard. That is on PrizePicks. Use our code CLNS. Get $50, like I said, when you play $5. You don't even need to win. The $50 is guaranteed. That's PrizePicks. Okay, let's do this mailbag, Taylor. I think now, as the loyal Pats Daily fans know, my computer is busted as can be. But right now we have a new Ethernet cable. Shout out Amit for getting me hooked up here. I think everything's running okay, so I think I could actually load these questions up. So I'll try and drive the bus today. If things go awry, I'll obviously ask you for assistance. But let's start this thing off, Taylor. Question number 1: do you think the offensive performance so far, plus the long week, makes it any more likely that Maye will start next week? So mini bye next week, going into week 4 against San Francisco. Do you think there's any chance Drake Maye starts in week 4 against the 49ers?
So obviously, Jacoby Brissett can be better. Mm-hmm. We've seen that there are some opportunities that he's missing. And in the first game, I think he got better at it, but obviously he had some misses with accuracy. Like, Jacoby Brissett can improve. But we need to, I think, appreciate what he has done, and that's keep the ball out of harm's way, make plays in critical moments out of extended drives. Even though there have been some misses, he's also put the team on his back a few times and been able to extend plays and do things like that. And really, he's just playing smart football where it is very conservative, but also when you look at most of the numbers, he's like middle of the pack. He's fine. He's not really – also the pressure to sack rate is the biggest thing. He's like top 10 in terms of having the lowest pressure to sack rate, despite the fact that the offensive line is second worst in terms of pressure rate allowed. So he's doing a lot to keep them afloat. I don't think as long as he's not turning the ball over, I think they'll be okay with, he's not really dynamic and pushing the ball downfield. We're fine with that as long as he's not turning the ball over and we at least have a chance with our run game and with our defense. So unless Drake Maye is behind the scenes and he's absolutely killing it and they're losing games, I don't really see them trying to rush Drake out there. I think really anytime we see him on the field, it'll be because there's a combination of Jacoby is not making enough plays to win games that he needs to or he's turning the ball over. And then it's also going to be because, all right, Drake is showing enough in practice that they trust that he can handle himself on the field.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think there's a chance that this happens, and that chance has a lot of factors that are involved in it, right? I think, first of all, Drake Maye has to be doing what they expect him to be doing in practice, like you just said. But if they go out there and play a close football game against the Jets like they have the first 2 weeks where the offense is running okay, the defense is playing well, and they're within a score, I don't see them benching Jacoby for after that. But there's also the chance that Jacoby goes out there this week, tries to do too much, A, gets hurt, B, throws an interception or two. Now, I don't think injury is obviously what's factoring into this question. I think they're talking more so about the performance and if Drake Maye, if they think Drake Maye is ready. But if Jacoby goes out there and shits the bed, for lack of a better term, then I do think they could go to Maye this early because of the fact that they have an extra couple of days to do so. Like at this point, it's let's see what the kid has in terms of how they're thinking behind the scenes. But that's only, again, if Jacoby is not great on Thursday, which I don't think he's going to play himself out of this job ever. I think he's doing just enough to make it worth their while to continue to be able to develop Drake behind the scenes. So the only reason I really think it happens is if Jacoby just turns the ball over, they get blown out, and it's like, okay, we just got our shit pushed in, and we really need to kind of reset this thing.
Is that a phrase?
Yeah, that's a phrase. Yeah, people get you get your shit pushed in. It's a gross phrase, but it's a phrase. So yeah, again, long story short, it could happen. I just don't see it being that likely. So, all right, moving on because I almost just I got Taylor cracking up on the pod. All right, let's actually talk about that in the comment section. Is getting your shit pushed in a phrase? Answer the question because I think it is. And if I'm wrong, then I sound like an idiot. But if you haven't heard that saying, all right, let's continue on with questions. Do you think the Patriots could trade for a tackle who could be a free agent next year and extend them like Jedrick Wills, Garrett Bowles, Cam Robinson, etc.? Taylor, what do you think? Are they in the tackle market right now?
I think if someone's going to trade a player in that position, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Because those are like pretty, I mean, they're maybe not top of the line players, but as we've seen, offensive tackle depth in the NFL is not very good. There would be a pretty glaring red flag, I would have to think, unless the Patriots are trying to give up significant capital. And I think that's a bad idea. Like, you got to tough it out. I understand that the offensive line situation may be bad, but I just don't see a team giving up a good player. And if they're willing to, again, I just don't see a situation where that is a situation that's going to be good for the Patriots. Just tough it out this year. Get Will Campbell or whoever you're in the range to get in the draft. Someone with a clean injury slate. You don't have to worry about, whatever they've learned somewhere else. You can mold them into whatever you want them to be.
So there is a guy in Cleveland that I believe I don't think it's Jedrick Wills. I think it was Jack Conklin. Maybe was a healthy scratch a couple weeks ago. Do I have that wrong?
Like a red flag because he has injury history.
I know, but so I just looked it up on Twitter. He was a full participant in practice today. But again, you're right. Like, okay, the dominoes continue to fall with the injuries on the Patriots offensive line. Let's just go trade for a guy that also has an injury history, and then what happens? You just play him for 2 weeks. It's like Riley Reif, right? Riley Reif last year looked like a guy who could fill in. He ends up going on IR twice. It doesn't pan out, and you end up spending the $5 million on him. that you didn't really obviously want to and didn't want to have to deal with it that way anyway. So I'm with you. I think it's a good point, really, the way you phrased it there, where tackle depth is clearly so it's so scarce across the NFL everywhere, and good tackle play, good offensive line play. Like the Patriots, as much as it stinks right now, and as much as we've talked about this all the time on the pod, as much as fans and media alike are upset and think that the Patriots should and could have done more at tackle, that might be true. But it's also a very hard position to hit. You're not going to find all-stars all the time. You're going to swing and miss. You're going to you have to sometimes be more conservative because of the injury history and stuff like that. So any of these guys that might not be playing, like if you're not playing football, that means you might not be that good at football, or there's another red flag elsewhere. So long story short, I'm with you. I think they should just kind of wait it out at this point.
And also look at the tackles that were drafted before Caden Wallace. Like Kingsley Suamataia
got benched.
He said he's a really raw player. He got benched. Even Roger Rosengarten, he was playing guard, but he was a guy who needs to get bigger. He still has some development that he needs to do, and he got benched very quickly after like getting beaten on his first NFL snap, which obviously that's such a small sample size and it's not fair to those players. But that's the reality. Like it's not easy to be a young guy starting in the offense or on the starting on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL, especially on the line. It's not like I'm worried a little bit about Caden. I think guard is a little bit easier because you're like sandwiched between two players, and sometimes you get a little bit more help. But being on an island's tough. But so I just bottom line, I don't see this being a realistic situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, again, the argument of doing more in the offseason, like I do understand it, and I think that it might have been hard, but yes, they could have done more. But to then hit the panic button at this point in the season, I don't like that at all. I think at this point you cut your losses and you figure it out with what you have and go back into the draft or use next offseason. Like you mess it up this time, you put your hands up and you say, yeah, we're going to deal with what we have. We're not going to continue to throw assets at this like draft picks, like draft capital, like other stuff for a player or an acquisition that might not work out in the long run. So yeah, I think you just hold still with it for now. All right, next question. Taylor, how can the Patriots best defend against screens and checkdowns to Breece Hall? Breece Hall is one of the best offensive weapons, one of the best backs in football. I talk about him in my own PrizePicks lineup coming out shortly tomorrow for Patriots versus Jets. He's the one guy not the one guy. He is a guy on this Jets team rather that the Patriots need to shut out. If you look at how they always like to shut down the opposite team's best player. In my opinion, Breece Hall is this guy for them. He does it on the ground. He does it through the air. So, Taylor, how do the Patriots best defend against him?
I think this is going to come for the screens and checkdowns specifically. Yeah. It's going to come down to one awareness, because I think some of these screens can just be designed picks like we saw last week. The Patriots gave up a third down conversion because they had Charbonnet go across the formation. His defender got picked, and he ended up getting wide open. So that's going to be a big one. Also, picks have been an issue for the Patriots the past 2 weeks. I'd like to see that get shored up a little bit, especially because I think they're going to play a lot of man coverage in this game. And then in terms of the checkdowns, that at the end of the day comes down to spacing and how much you drop in your zone coverages. Like if you're just going to, like the Jets, what they do a lot is they'll just bail. Like they will give you the checkdowns. But with Breece Hall, you don't want to give him those because he's so dynamic. He can break tackles. If you give him a head of steam, he's an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, again, in man coverage, it's going to come down to knowing where you're at, where your teammates are, and trying not to get picked off and giving them just daylight to work with. And then your zone coverage is you got to kind of play – you got to just try to squeeze between two different receivers where Breece is in that flat. You can't just completely give it up. You have to try to play with some level of, all right, I can at least defend this thing behind me, but also I'm competitive on an underneath target.
Yep. All right, quickly, we're gonna talk about game time here really quick. Then we're gonna finish off this pod with your questions from the chat because there's a lot of them. Some of them questions from you guys. Other ones I'm gonna turn into questions for the last segment of the show. So we'll have some fun with it. And again, if you have any more, please throw them in the chat, and we'll get to all of your questions while you guys are here. But first, game time. Let's talk about it. It's football season. It's back. The Patriots play the Jets on Thursday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. And like I said the last time, although me and Taylor are going to be there in the press box, you guys can join us from from the Gametime app for as little as $70 right now on Gametime. It's the best way to get tickets. They have a new feature called Gametime Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. They filter out the fluff and show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime also does concerts, does theaters, does all other stuff. It's not just sporting events, and they make it super easy to go in there and get into the games and shows, etc. You can go and look at your seat view. You can also look at MetLife right now. I believe we have a graphic queued up if I do this right. As it loads, I'm going to pause. Taylor, is it up?
It's up.
Okay, I can't see it. What does it say?
It looks good.
Oh, there we go. It's
It?
how you see your seat view. So this is the perfect example. What I always tout on here, I'm going to put this together for us. This is how you see your seat view, super easy on the Gametime app. Not every app does this. Sometimes you can't look and see what it actually looks like. You just see a crappy diagram. But Gametime has both. So make sure you head over to Gametime today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it, Taylor?
Gametime.
Let's go. Good finish. All right, that's Gametime. Hold on, let me just make sure this comes off. I don't know how much this Ethernet cable is going to help me for the future, but we'll see. I think I'm able to control things a little bit better on the back end for you guys. So let's get to the rest of your comments, the rest of your questions. Taylor, I want to ask this one right off the top because this one is right up your alley. It's from Los, and it has to do with the muscle tight end position that Caden Wallace has played for the Patriots over the last couple weeks. Do they use Trey Jacobs there now that Caden Wallace is going to be the left tackle? Will it be Zach Thomas? Will they even go to that formation with them being down so many linemen? How do you see it playing out, and will they use somebody else there? You're muted. Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how that happened either. That's never happened before. Anyway, I honestly took me a second. There was DeMontre Jacobs. I'd never heard anybody call him Trey before.
Yeah.
I would think it'd probably go to Zach Thomas. There was a point towards the end of the game where he had his helmet on.
Yeah.
And it looked like maybe he would come in if they had some kind of formation like that. But really, I think that's going to be Nick Leverett. He was my main choice for being like the jumbo fullback or tight end. We saw him as a fullback last week, but I think you'd probably use him because he's your top backup offensive lineman there. But yeah, I think it'd probably be Zach Thomas because we haven't really seen Jacobs do a whole lot. I feel like he's usually with like the third group. Yeah. Zach Thomas is usually mixing in with the top guys. So yeah, I would think Nick Leverett is the top option and then probably Zach Thomas.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, I wonder how much they play. They're already, like you said, they're dealing with the attrition. Guys are going down. You don't want to risk having another guy out there if you don't. I don't want to say if you don't have to because they're running that formation well and they're gaining yards with it. So it's not like they should just bail on it altogether. But if you're throwing an extra lineman out there to get an extra push and one of those guys goes down, I don't think I like it. I think you roll with 5 for now. But I guess this is an interesting question. And I don't know if I know the answer. I don't know if you know the answer. But I want to talk about it because we always complain about the offensive line here. And we always say that offensive line play is bad across the league. But why is it? Like, what has changed? Why can't teams pass protect? I don't want to say like they used to because I guess it's never been perfect. And there always is sacks and there's always – blown blocks and stuff. But overall, it looks like it's getting worse. And the passing game as well. So what do you make of this? Why do you think that passing game and offensive line play is down across the league?
I think, one, it starts at the youth levels. I just don't think there's a ton of kids, who want to play offensive line or parents who even – obviously attendance, I'm pretty sure, in youth football is down. So there's not a whole lot of talent to work with. Then obviously in the college game – this has just been a thing for a long time, but there's so many spread systems and these programs prioritize winning. They do not prioritize your development. So there's not a whole lot of these guys who are learning to actually pass protect for like a 5-step drop or really having to hold up one-on-one for multiple seconds, even though the defensive talent, especially because the defensive talent at the college level, everybody's good. Everybody wants to be a pass rusher. You get money, you get to make plays. So there's a lot more of them than there are good offensive linemen. And that's going to put you in spots where as a college program, you're like, yeah, I don't want to put this guy on an island against this freak athlete who just has tools, but that's really all you need. So that's an issue. I don't think they're being taught in a way that is conductive or productive when they get to the second level? I guess the NFL
level. Yeah, the professional level.
Yeah. Can you tell I've just been watching a stream all day? But yeah, so they come into the NFL, they don't have a lot of prep. And I think I've mentioned before, I think that's one reason the Patriots like guys who've been playing for multiple years, who are older prospects, because they played more and they've experienced more. And sometimes it's easier for them to understand what you're trying to tell them because it's basically just speaking a different language or slightly changing technique versus them being like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, this is completely foreign to me. And then at the end of practice time, David Andrews, I asked him a couple times this summer. He just mentioned he doesn't think it's fair to players. And a lot of that is because I think the players voted, mostly veteran players, that they didn't want as many practices and they wanted these lighter days, which makes sense when you've been in the NFL for a while and you know what you're doing. But it does do a disservice to these young players because they don't have the time to improve and learn the things they need to learn or work with the people who they're going to be blocking these techniques next to. Like the run game, that's why there's not a lot of really, really good run teams outside of the offensive lines that have great continuity, because it's really difficult to understand how those guys work and to feel comfortable passing off assignments and things like that. Much less, when you're in pass protection and guys are throwing loops and stunts at you when you're working with a guy that you don't work with a lot. But then because guys get hurt, then the O-line play obviously looks worse because it's just the nature of the position. Guys are going to go down. And then like the Patriots, what they've been doing is mixing in, and they were experimenting with different combinations, which seemed crazy. But now those things are happening, and they actually did have to use those because of injuries. So there's a lot of different things that I think go into it, and I'm sure there's more things that I don't even know about. But I think there's just a lack of a shallow talent pool to start. That talent pool isn't being developed in a way that's conducive to them getting to the NFL. And then once they get to the NFL, it's really hard to catch up and be able to even survive, even if you are talented, because the learning curve is so steep.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with everything. I think that's a... Can't hear me?
Can't hear you.
What the heck?
You're not even muted, are you?
No, I'm not. You can't hear me at all.
Am I the only one who can't hear Mike?
Can you guys hear me in the chat?
Somebody in the chat.
Chat, we need your help.
And I think kind of force, yeah.
Chat,
can we hear Mike?
Chat. Audio.
Okay, in the meantime, throw up another. Oh, they can hear you? Okay, something's wrong with me then, I guess.
They said you can hear me? They can hear me?
You're good. I can't hear you. I don't know what's happening.
You good?
Oh, my God.
Did you mute me? You took your headphones out, didn't you? Now I can't hear you.
I wasn't even wearing them. Oh my gosh. Can you hear me now? This is insane.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my AirPods were on. That's what's been happening. My AirPods were on my desk, and they were connecting and disconnecting. Oh my! This is why I hate these things. It's so stupid. I moved it and then it messed with it. Thank you all. Chat.
My God, someone in the chat. Why does the chat like this? All right, Mr. Snoopy saying get on with it.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's a live show. We're hanging out with you guys. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. We're here hanging out. Like, things happen. But thanks, guys. We asked for
them to help, and they helped. That was a lot.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to crap on Snoopy anymore, because I did have another question here that I'm trying to pull. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's I'll put up this question. I'll let you stew over it. But the other thing I was thinking on the offensive line play was just that it's a really hard position to play. Like it's not, I mean, that's obvious, right? But when you go through not having, the 7-on-7 camps, and you don't have your offensive linemen, I guess in these camps all the time, and you don't learn the technique like you should. And then you get to the NFL level, and the defensive ends you mentioned, you have guys running at you at 150 miles an hour, and you can't catch up to them as fast as possible. And the fact that that's happening, and they're passing so much more. Like, the best teams in the league want to pass so much more. And so then it just happens at a higher rate. Then it makes the position more difficult. And I think that it's obviously probably the most important position group outside of quarterback in the NFL right now in order to be successful as offensive line.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anyway, Taylor, you mentioned a little bit of this to me offline, and then you also started the show with it about how the Patriots or how Alex Van Pelt and Jacoby Brissett attacked the Jets the last time they played. So what scheme changes are possible if the offensive line continues to struggle, pass pro continues to get worse? We thought they would call a ton of screens. They haven't called a ton, but when they do, they've worked. Obviously, they had the long one to Hunter Henry last week. Will they get the ball out quick? Will they run quick games, shorter routes? What do you expect against the Jets this week along these lines?
Yeah, and it's pretty straightforward. I do think we're going to see more quick game. Hopefully that involves guys like Pop, a little bit of Jalen Polk, but guys who can make something happen after the catch. Maybe even Jaheim Bell. We saw him get a snap, and I thought they were trying to set up some kind of play action to him last week. The screens, we definitely need to see more of those. But the last time Jacoby played the Jets with the Browns, we did see a lot of quick game, like literally one step, get the ball out of your hand. There were a lot of tight end screens. I really love tight end screens. I'd love to see more of those. Again, also to Jaheim Bell, their slip screens haven't worked very much. Maybe they just need to incorporate more misdirection, which for the Jets usually works because they're such a fast-flowing defense. If you give them some eye candy a lot of the time, it'll kind of get them off a rhythm. And then just shorter routes in general, I think that you want to see Pop as maybe a little bit of a shorter option so you can just get the ball out quickly because a lot of this downfield stuff, staying ahead of the chains is huge because if you get in second and long and third and long, then everybody knows what you're trying to do, and that takes what you can do off the table. But if they can stay ahead of the chains, then yeah, I think really just getting that out quickly and trying to get it to playmakers like Ramondre and Antonio Gibson as well. Try to get them the ball underneath, let them make some magic happen because this just isn't a team right now that's built to be dropping back with any level of consistency and having success.
Yeah, they got to get the ball out quick. It's that simple. Again, that's why I picked Pop in our PrizePicks thing. I think that his frustration and not getting the football, I think it's pretty there was a time last week, I think we mentioned it on postgame, Taylor, but there was one play where we were sitting up in the press box next to each other, and Pop was in the slot to the right, and they had it was either a corner or a safety, I forget who was on him, but he had like a 7-8 yard cushion on him, and it's like, just grab the football, throw it to Pop, and see what happens. And I know it's not always that simple. You have a play call and things like that. You could go into a formation and not get the look you want, all that kind of stuff. But there's got to be some times where they just scheme things up, scheme him up touches because he's too good to only have 3 targets again across 2 games. So I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow night. I think that they're going to get Pop the football. I think they're going to get the ball out quick. And I agree with you. I like that you are able to find the Jacoby Brissett AVP game with the Browns against the Jets and them running screens. What do you got? Do you have a cat down there?
Dude, she wants attention so badly.
Let's get the cat on screen. Let's get her on
sorry,
screen.
sweetie. Let's see if I can pick her up. Here she is.
Oh, hi.
Hey, hi, Mama.
And what's her name?
Her name is Teak. Oh, there you go. I try to give you attention, and then you run away. She made her debut. I think it's the first time she's on camera. Did you like it?
Love it. Welcome to the show.
Do you have 2 minutes?
All right. Well, we'll give you.
We got to wrap this up.
We're giving 2 minutes. That was the last mailbag question. We appreciate all your questions, guys. Sorry for the tech difficulties. Sorry for the not being able to handle us. Like we said, it's a short week. We're on little sleep, just like the Patriots are. But before we get out of here, Taylor, let's give our Patriots versus Jets prediction. Final score prediction. How does it happen? What do you think happens in this one on Thursday night?
17-13 game. It's going to be ugly. I think that hopefully getting the ball in Pop's hands more will get them down the field and in scoring position. I don't expect them to be, significantly better in scoring territory, but I do think they'll get, at least a couple of touchdowns. And I think that as long as they don't let, obviously, Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard, as funny as it sounds, take over the game in any kind of way, because those really are the only 2 guys in this passing attack, other than Breece Hall, of course, that scare you. And then in the run game, make sure Breece Hall doesn't run all over you. That's going to be tough without Juwan Bentley. Breece Hall had a very good game against them late in the season finale last year, but I do think the Patriots can win this one. I think it's a very winnable game as long as they continue to protect the football, just take advantage of a couple more opportunities in the pass game.
All right, that's Taylor's prediction. I'm going 21-17 Jets. I think the Jets win. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, those guys are too good. Garrett Wilson's probably like my favorite player in the NFL right now. He's so good. Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's still he's not as mobile as he once was, but he's still that guy. And even with Jermaine Johnson not there, on the Jets offensive line, or on the Jets defensive line, rather. I still think that this O-line is going to struggle. So I think they only put up 17 points, and I think the Jets managed to get 21. I'm going with Jets 21, Patriots 17. Me and Taylor will be there tomorrow night at MetLife Stadium. We won't have these tech issues because we'll be live on scene. Like so many of you guys in the comments have said, they're saying, get rid of the Wi-Fi, get rid of the Zoom calls, and just do it live together. We're going to try and get more of those done. We have some plans down the stretch where, I guess I'll leak it here. We might try and do an in-person film review session. We're going to try and see where that goes. So make sure to tune in for stuff like that.
Thanks, D.
Oh, we got a 5. Where is it? Can you throw that up? Oh, D, what do we got?
Yeah.
Is it on screen? I can't see.
Yeah.
The offense is not creative at all. We can't keep saying it's the wide receivers. Look at what Josh Allen's doing with nobody. So let's react to this before we go, Taylor, because I wouldn't even say,
I'll say real quick, I don't even think it was the receivers. I think that they just need more time. The receivers are fine.
Yeah. We me and Taylor did our Who Has the Edge series that's coming out later on the channel, and we kind of did our blame pie for the offensive passing game. Taylor had wide receiver last. I did too. Look, I think they could improve, but ultimately it's stemming from the offensive line, and that's kind of the main problem, the main focus, in my opinion, on this offense. But we'll see what happens on Thursday night. Like I said, myself and Taylor will be there. We'll do it live from MetLife. We're leaving tomorrow. We'll have all your coverage here on Patriots Press Pass from MetLife Stadium. So make sure you tune in, rate, review, subscribe to the channel, like this video, like all our videos. It helps us a ton. And also head over to PrizePicks. Use code CLNS there for $50 when you play $5, and go over to Gametime. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Hang out with us at MetLife for just $70 on the Gametime app. Until tomorrow from MetLife Stadium, that's it for me and Taylor. We're going to go try and get some sleep. We're going to get prepped for tomorrow so we can give you the best coverage possible from Patriots Chess. So until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone.